Welcome back to episode 16 of the 9 Degrees Podcast, the number one non-educational education-themed podcast in the world. We may have 9 degrees among us, but we still don't know much about anything. We'll make sure to keep you guys informed on the most interesting current events in the world, but make sure you use a fact checker because we certainly don't. I am in my brand new setup here. I just moved apartments, so I've got a little bit of a rusty setup going on, but that's okay. MADDOX also just moved, so he's got a little bit of a setup that he's working through as well. Jackson didn't move. Setup always a little rusty.
Yeah.
That being said,
I'll be honest, Jerome. I didn't even notice you moved. It looks exactly the same.
That's what I love to hear. I hear it.
I didn't either. I totally forgot.
Yes.
Even the camera angle is the same.
I love it. I'm not even using my normal camera. I'm using like my little webcam camera. So wow, shocking. That means I did a pretty good job. But anyway, as always, I'm your boy Jerome. We got no Jared again, 3 weeks in a row. We got to start docking that guy's pay. But we got MADDOX, we got Jackson back for another episode. Make sure you guys are tuning in. Audio version on podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify. Video version, youtube.com/JeromeVoz. Socials at 9 Degrees Pod on everything. Let's get right into it with Homeroom, the pleasantries, the gripes. How's everybody doing this week? MADDOX, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I don't have much to report. The Vols beat Alabama.
Woo! Roll Vols.
Vols.
Honestly, that might be why Jared didn't show up. Did anyone do a wellness check on him?
Well, I was hoping he'd be here so we could talk about it, but
it's true.
He bailed, so yep. I figured I'd just bring it up during our pleasantries. Not that I am a football fan, really, but...
Did you watch the game at least?
I did watch it, yes.
It's pretty good.
My wife
game.
and I watched it. She's from Alabama.
You have a wife?
I'm from Tennessee. So
I actually never heard you say my wife, actually. That's funny.
Yeah, it's new. It's new to me.
He's only been married a month.
But yeah, I don't know that I have much else going on. Jerome, you came to visit. It was fun. We had a good breakfast.
Can you talk a bit about your setup? Because this is going to be great for the audio only listeners, but it's you're changing your setup a little bit. You're adding a little more flair to it.
Yeah, so I moved into a new house and I was trying to add a little bit of character, a little personality to my background. So I bought this little shelf here and I'm just putting, I don't know, items that I like up here. Right now it's mostly just Rubik's Cubes. So, yeah.
Nice.
I don't solve them much anymore, but I still like to have them around.
You need to get like a 9 Degrees themed something. You'd mentioned it to me while I was there over the weekend.
Well, you have a 2 Degrees themed something behind you, below you, right?
Oh yeah, I have my degrees down here, but
I
don't know if I'm gonna.
This is credentials.
What?
I don't know.
Anyways,
if I can find space for them.
Jackson, what's going on in your world? Any pleasantries? Any gripes?
Oh, one thing I'm happy about is that it seems like the weather is becoming a lot more autumnal. Is that a word? We're gonna have to fact check that one. But
one more time, how do you spell it? Use it in a sentence.
AUTMUNAL. Autumnal.
I think the word you're looking for
autumn.
Is autonomous.
Makes sense. I thought he was trying to
Tumnus.
spell hot sauce. Is what I thought he was trying to spell. Which is MADDOX's username.
It seems like it's more like autumn now. It gets cool in the evening. So
I'll retweet that. The weather it's very nice right now. Although it's still pretty sporadic. It's like today was pretty hot.
Is this what this podcast has become? Our pleasantries, or do we just talk about the weather?
Wait, actually, hold on. That's a gripe. That's a mini gripe that I just came up with.
Go ahead.
I think the weather is actually a very interesting topic to talk about, but it gets lumped as being like this very generic and bland and non-meaningful conversation topic.
People only talk about the weather when they have nothing else to talk about.
But I think the weather's interesting. Like, I think because it's always changing. It's affecting how you feel.
Okay.
As I get older, I do place more importance on the quality of the weather.
I'll allow it. I do have an actual gripe, unless, Jackson, you have something else.
You can go first.
Okay. Here's my gripe. I just moved into this apartment complex, and I needed, new Wi-Fi, right? First off, I hate this idea of wireless internet because, well, okay, that came out wrong. I love wireless internet. I hate the idea of wireless internet service providers because they make you think that you have a choice, but you don't. You have to just use whoever you're zoned for, right? And I'm zoned for Verizon in this new building. I've never used Verizon before, but so I sign up, whatever, and the technician comes through, and he goes through my like closet or whatever to set up the internet, comes back out to me, and he's like, "Yeah, you actually don't have like a conduit or whatever coming into your apartment, so I can't drop the internet. So you're just not going to have internet for the next 3 days because we need the contractors to come out and like bust through your ceiling and bust through the ceiling in the telecom room and run the wire." And I'm just like, there's been people that lived here before me. How did they have internet? You're just telling me they didn't have internet for 3 years? What's going on right now? And I cannot understand what's happening. The only solution that I've come up with in my head is maybe I got fiber and the people before me didn't have fiber, you know? But also, even for that, I'm paying for 300 megabits down and I'm only getting 150. It's all a scam, dude. So that's my gripe.
I just had the same type of thing. You got Verizon, I have AT&T. They're the ones that do fiber here. And I was excited about the fiber because I thought it was going to be really superior to the previous providers we've had around here. But it's been pretty average. And same thing, they had to do a bunch of drilling and whatnot to get it all hooked up, which was fine. It was like the dude was pretty quick about it, and he was friendly. So that was all fine. But yeah, I'm not impressed. Not that impressed with the quality of it. I'm not getting as much down as they advertise.
Right. And you came from Chattanooga, which is like notoriously known for having really, really good internet provided by the city. So you kind of got screwed.
Yeah, I was a little spoiled with that one. But I think they're setting a precedence. Like, I don't know why we can't do that everywhere. Or why can't we just have Starlink everywhere?
Is Starlink good though?
It could get good. It could be good, if you keep improving it.
That's what Verizon keeps telling me too.
I don't know if Starlink is good for like streaming YouTube videos, but
what's it good for then?
Helping Ukraine conduct military operations or something. That's what I hear anyways.
I think we could get to the point though where we have high quality, top speed, whether it be like internet or cell phone service, like just globally, like via satellite, and you just never, forget all this, geographic monopolies. It's just up in the atmosphere and you're always connected. That's what we should be working toward.
I tend to agree with you. Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully this Verizon thing clears itself up. But Jackson, did you have a separate gripe?
Yes. Speaking of moving, I just had new neighbors move into me next door. They're two lots over, but there's an empty lot between us, so that I can see them from my house. And so,
you hate them?
No, actually, they're relatives of mine. So anyways.
Okay.
but the thing I wanted to complain about. So the house is on like a half lot, so it only takes up half the lot that it's on. And it's pretty small square footage. Like it's more vertical than it is like area, like flat on the ground. It goes high and it takes up small square footage on the ground. But one striking thing about the house is that it's very bright. And that's my gripe that I want to talk about. Why does everyone like leave their lights on in their house at night? Like, outside, like why does everyone leave outside lights on in their house at night?
When you say outside lights, you're saying like literally
floodlights?
Yes, like or like lights on your driveway or like lights on the front of your house, basically.
I think the easy answer is like burglars, right?
Okay, that's I knew that was coming because that's the stereotypical answer.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask, when have like floodlights out in front ever deterred burglars?
Also, if we're being honest, it helps burglars. It helps them see better.
Yeah, right. But I think the idea is like, it's like the Home Alone concept, right? If you think people are home, aka floodlights are on, then you won't go into that house. But if there are no lights, if it's dark, you assume you can't be seen. Maybe
You
it's
know,
more likely of a target.
So at my house growing up, we always had like automatic lights that would turn on at a certain
Yeah.
time at night and turn off in the middle of the night. So I had a theory that or I had this paranoia that if there were some smart burglars out there, they would like be staking out our house, kind of like in Home Alone, actually.
Yeah.
And they would know that, okay, no one's home if the lights come on at this certain time because that's just the automatic light. So, but also like, I don't know, it's the year 2024. Do we still have burglars that like break into houses and steal things? I don't know.
Do you guys?
I feel like we're protecting against something that doesn't actually happen.
I would agree with that. Also,
I'm sure it happens. Maybe not in affluent neighborhoods like the one that you live in, Jackson.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens, but I feel
But
like it's not like.
But those are the ones that are most likely to have floodlights out in front, which is like
okay. I get your point.
Yeah. But anyways, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the light. It's like, the light pollution's bad, I think. It's just
waste of electricity.
Waste of electricity, bad for the local ecology.
I agree with this. We have floodlights outside our garage that are motion activated. Boom, perfect solution.
Oh yeah, I agree with that actually. That would
they
actually
turn
deter
off.
burglars.
They turn off after 10 seconds if no movement or whatever. And if there's movement, boop, they turn on. It's perfect for you because if you're outside and it's dark, you have light. Perfect as a deterrent. So
all right, it's fine. You've convinced me. You guys
seen It Takes a Thief?
I have not.
No.
It
was a show on. It used to be on. I think it was on Discovery Channel. Is that the channel that MythBusters was on?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was on the same channel back when MythBusters was popular. But it was a show called It Takes a Thief, and it was this guy who was like in jail because he was a burglar. But then when he got out, they made this TV show where he would basically just try to break into people's houses and they would like record the whole thing.
Was he successful? Was that the point of the show? Like, can you be successful type thing?
Yeah, It was like he was trying to do it without getting caught type thing.
Gotcha.
But also it was to like promote home security type stuff. I don't know. I'm with Jackson. I don't think it happens so much. I don't think like I know people that get super like freaked out about not having their door locked and stuff. I don't know. I think that's a little overblown.
I'm with you. Speaking of criminals, should we move right into first period? I'm not even going to ask. I said, should we?
I think I know where this is going.
Oh, do you? Go for it. Take a guess. Take a guess, Jackson.
Oh, we talk about Diddy a lot. Is it him?
Oh, it's not Diddy. But I would love more Diddy news. If anyone has an update on Diddy and what's going on, please let me know.
We can't talk about Diddy because we get demonetized.
Did we? We get demonetized when we talk about DD. That didn't work.
Dedotitized.
That didn't work. Anyway, no, I want to talk about criminals. TD Bank. Welcome to First Period with yours truly, Jerome Voss. Let's talk about TD Bank. I don't know if you guys are familiar. TD Bank, I think based out of Canada? ? But big bank, people store a lot of their money. Just got hit with a huge case by the DOJ, the Department of Justice, a $3 billion settlement for money laundering and conspiracy to help like with drug trafficking, specifically fentanyl. Did you hear about this? Maddox and I talked about this briefly, but Jackson, have you heard about this?
No. I have not.
Insane. The fine includes $1.3 billion penalty that will be paid to the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, also known as FinCEN, a record fine for TD Bank, and they also have to pay a $1.8 billion fine to the U.S. Justice Department. A couple things I want to talk about here. What they're saying is they basically ignored a lot of the money monitoring practices that are law, making its services convenient for criminals. And they're saying more than 90% of transactions went unmonitored between January 2018 and April 2024. 90%. So they are basically like enabling money laundering and stuff. Let's see. Collectively transferred more than $670 million of money laundering. And then here's another one. TD Bank employees collected more than $57,000 worth of gift cards to process more than $470 million in cash deposits from money laundering activities. Insane. I don't even understand how this happens, because $57,000 in gift cards, like, this is like multiple layers of, like, have broken down, right? I don't know. Give me your thoughts. What's going on here? How did this happen?
So, as someone who works, I don't work in banking, but I work in the banking industry. I'm gonna wager a guess that the reason why this might happen, especially at banks that deal with large volumes, like, think you're like your JP Morgan Chase, your TD Bank, your Bank of America, any bank that has like nationwide or worldwide customer base. This usually happens due to bad internal standards, and not willfully bad, but just like ignorantly bad. Usually it's because, whoever set the standards up for how you operate your anti-money laundering and anti-fraud schemes, they were like, we're not going to consider this. We're going to do something else. Just because.
But 90% of transactions unmonitored? That's crazy.
So the word unmonitored there is kind of a vague term. Because when you're dealing with like billions, is that the right something? Millions, billions of transactions per year. A human is not going to be looking at all those transactions. There's too many transactions to go through, and so
I think I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, what that means. Whenever they were setting up their automatic monitoring, they just forgot to do something that they should have done.
Or it could have been forgot. It could have just been, they didn't set it up to the standards, the compliance standards that are enforced by law.
Right. I would say that the onus here falls on TD Bank's compliance department and legal department, and whoever's in charge of ensuring that the bank is up to the standards set up by the U.S. government as far as enforcing anti-fraud and anti-money laundering regulations.
Here is another question. That 90% number, is that just some, journalism trickery that CNN's using, when, like, in reality, it's like, okay, most transactions go unmonitored because they don't raise any red flags. The way that the story is written, it, like, implies that 90% of, like, illegal activity transactions went unmonitored. But in reality, are we saying, like, the regular, I went to the gas station and I paid $50 to fill up my gas tank? Obviously, that raises no flags, but that's being counted in this 90% stat.
Yeah, but also just because it's a gas station transaction doesn't mean it doesn't need to be monitored. And again, monitors is very vague.
Yeah.
I'm not going to know what sorts of regulations are going to apply to that vague statement, but
Sure. I do have another generic question around this. Is when an individual commits a crime, right? Think Sam Bankman-Fried, right? Or as I call him, Sam Bankman-Altman-Fried. When he commits a crime, he goes to prison. This is a corporation that the DOJ said, hey, you committed a crime, but they just get to settle. I've never understood this concept of, why is it that the corporation just gets to settle and no one gets... It's essentially just like a slap on the wrist, right? Like, they pay a $3 billion fine and, like, everything continues as normal. No one's going to jail. Like, nothing's happening, And they effectively just allowed the cartel or whoever to launder so much money, and nothing's going to happen. I don't understand. What's the difference here? Someone explain it to me.
I don't really know if I know the difference, but I would say in that Sam Bankman-Fried, it wasn't really just Sam Bankman-Fried that committed the crime. It was FTX,
right.
The company. As to why he went to jail and the CEO of TD is not going to jail, I don't really know. I guess the difference would be TD didn't follow the law. But who was really harmed? The difference with FTX is, like, customers lost billions of dollars worth of their funds. the degree of damage here is significantly different.
Right.
And, while drug trafficking is illegal, it's not directly harming the consumers of the bank, I would say.
Right. The victims of drug trafficking are not the customers of the bank necessarily. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Jackson, any thoughts on that?
So when you say that, like, why do banks get fined but no one goes to jail whenever corporations commit crimes? I instantly think of the 2008 financial crisis,
Mm-hmm.
or
Fair.
the general financial crisis. I think one person total went to jail in all of that, and that's like probably the biggest financial disaster since the Great Depression, which is a while ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer. I can tell you, I want more people to go to jail. I'm a big fan of when white collar corporate people go to jail.
Criminals go to jail. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to pinpoint, point blame on a single person when it's a corporation, because usually it's like more of a collective, like kind of what Jackson was saying, a collective, like what is the word? Disregard, maybe. It's like, and that's not really like
negligence.
anyone. Yeah. It's not really anyone like intentionally doing something illegal. It's more just like, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you're right. And maybe that is the difference, is negligence versus actively trying to harm.
Intent. It's always about intent.
That's true. Okay. Well, I got another story for you guys. We can move on. How do we feel about nuclear power in general? Like, dislike?
Okay, I'm not going to talk about this like I know anything about this, but like the little bit I do know is obviously it's had a bad history.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of energy sources, I think it is very efficient.
Okay.
I would even amend that statement that it has a bad history to it has bad PR. I think there are maybe a handful of disasters related to nuclear power production, but
I can really only think of one, Chernobyl, right?
Yeah, and there's 3 Mile Island, which I think
that's interesting that you say that. Okay, go ahead, keep going.
Well, but compared to, like, say, fossil fuel plants, those are polluting the air and causing global warming and ruining the world. That's pretty bad, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where the damage that the thing has caused is like, even though it's tragic, but when you compare that just from a statistics basis, it's not actually, it's not that bad compared to other things that are just normalized, like smoking cigarettes or something kills way more people than nuclear power has. And
the amount of power it generates compared to there's no emissions, but to the leftovers is phenomenal. And if you compare the amount of power it can generate compared to mainstream renewable resources like hydroelectric, solar, wind, it trumps those. So,
well, I'm interested that you brought up this 3 Mile Island thing, because I had never heard of this before I started doing a little bit of research about this specific story. But what do you have, like, a general summary of what 3 Mile Island is and what happened?
Yeah, it was a nuclear meltdown that happened in 3 Mile Island, which I think is in Pennsylvania.
That's correct.
And I don't know, it happened in the 70s or the 80s, and it's the worst nuclear meltdown that happened in the United States. I don't think it was like it was no Chernobyl. I'll just say that it was pretty low,
contained.
Yes.
Yeah. So from what I can tell, it looks like the cleanup officially ended on December 1993. The accident itself happened in 1979. But interestingly enough, just last month, 3 Mile Island said they were going to restart the nuclear reactor there soon, because
it's still there. I guess that makes sense.
Supposedly it's still there. But they're going to restart the reactor so tech giant Microsoft can buy the power to supply its data centers. Now, after that, this month, Google made an announcement that they're going to start investing in nuclear technology, nuclear power as well. And 2 days after that, Amazon said they're going to be investing into small nuclear reactors. I don't know that Google said a specific amount, and I don't think Microsoft did either. At least I haven't seen it. But Amazon specifically said $500 million small scale nuclear reactors. And all three of the tech giants are specifically saying they're looking for carbon-free sources of electricity to meet surging demand for data centers and artificial intelligence. Kind of interesting. And I haven't done any sort of research about nuclear reactors and power and stuff, but the fact that Amazon is specifically saying small-scale nuclear reactors, I'm interested to see how, if at all, that is any different in terms of potential meltdowns and containment and these types of things. That being said, I also think the technology is probably way better than it was in 1979, and like it's probably way safer now than it was in 1979.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. From what I have heard, which is not much, it was not really that dangerous to begin with. Again, if you're just looking at like on a statistical basis, but yeah, I think it's definitely a much safer endeavor now.
And lots of other countries nowadays are doing this, right? They're using nuclear power.
Yeah, I was just going to say...
Go ahead.
It just feels kind of surreal, these tech companies like investing in new energy or alternative energy sources to like build these data centers, to run these data centers to like power all the AI models that are being are in high demand now. Like it kind of, I don't know.
It's weird, right?
It's almost feeling like a next chapter in this AI book.
Yeah.
And it's not just AI. Data centers have been like, pretty consuming for like, a decade or more.
Yeah.
It's everything. We're consuming the most energy ever every single day, I feel like, as a society.
Yeah. And speaking on, nuclear reactor, nuclear energy production, we grew up in East Tennessee, and I know for a fact that TVA has, which is a government-run energy company based in Tennessee.
Yeah.
They have nuclear power plants, I think, within 50 miles of where we lived. So,
Wait, really?
Yes.
That I did not know. That are active?
Yes. I think about 25... I don't want to say 25% of the power of the state of Tennessee, but I know that TVA, about 25% of their energy production is nuclear, something like that.
Well, also, we all know people that live and work in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I mean, it's just, a 40-minute drive from where we grew up. And I'm fairly certain, even though they're super hush-hush about everything they do, they work with both stable and unstable isotopes there at the National Laboratory. So I'm sure part of it is like some sort of nuclear something is going on there, right?
That was more of they made the atomic bomb back in the day.
I agree, but I'm saying
just a general.
I'm saying today they currently still work with stable and unstable isotopes. So
sure, although I think the scale is a little different from a nuclear power plant.
Probably, yeah. But maybe it's these small scale reactors.
Regardless, bad PR. Nuclear, you got to get your PR up. Maybe
all
Google
right,
and
give us the pitch real quick. Give us the pitch real quick. Yeah, how do we fix the nuclear PR? If you were on the marketing team to fix nuclear, I want your pitch.
If I was on the marketing team, okay. Yeah. First thing I'm doing, I'm going to Reddit, because Redditors love to praise nuclear. Just copy paste something on Reddit. There you go. That's your pitch. And then hire a consulting firm to do the branding.
Would you run for president on the promise of nuclear? Are either of the candidates right now running on nuclear?
Not prominently.
Okay.
Nuclear's not very sexy. Again, bad PR. It takes it takes a generation to fix these things. So
or four. But It is what it is. Okay, I got one more for you guys. Did you know that Waffle House has a storm command center where anytime there's a natural disaster, specifically hurricanes, they help FEMA I don't know, they have these storm centers where they have an entire operations team that helps FEMA with disaster recovery.
So I didn't know that they had an operations center, but I am familiar with the Waffle House scale of storm severity. Do you know about this, Jerome?
No. What is this?
Oh, okay. I thought that might be in the article that you found. But you can tell how severe a weather event is going to be based on whether or not the Waffle House in that area is closed that day. So, for example, if a storm is like not that severe, just, thunderstorms and rain, the Waffle House will still be open. If there's something like hurricane level winds and rain and flooding, then Waffle House is going to say, okay, we're closing that location. And then that's just a general indicator that can be used by the general public as to how severe a storm is.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is a phenomenon that's been sort of pointed out, I think, over the last 10 or 20 years.
Well, so apparently Waffle House is, they beefed up their crisis management process after Hurricane Katrina in 2005. And since then, they have oftentimes operated as a command center to help FEMA and the government in disaster recovery type of situations, which I don't even know what to say. Waffle House is probably, in my opinion, one of the lowest of low in terms of intelligent operations that I would think in my life. I'll say it. F you, Waffle House. But
are you kidding me? I love Waffle House.
Yeah, okay. You just offended, I think, 99% of the population.
I didn't say anything about the food. I just said in terms of intelligible operations. You're right. I actually don't like Waffle House. I'll say it.
I mean, there goes our sponsorship, man.
Unless you guys want to sponsor us, in which case, I love Waffle House and I hate IHOP.
No, actually, I love Waffle House, unironically.
Well, but my point being, I would have never expected them to be a hurricane disaster center. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of insane.
It could have to do with what Jackson said, and also just it kind of makes sense. Hear me out. If they can be used as an indicator for how bad a storm is in a specific location, it's because they have exposure to everywhere, every part of the United States.
True.
Or maybe internationally. Are they a global entity? I don't know. But my point is they've been around a long time and they're everywhere. So they've probably, as a business, been exposed to essentially every natural disaster that's ever happened. Not ever happened, but in the recent history,
I guess that's fair. And
so maybe that's why they've developed. They've had to internally develop ways to deal with it, and I don't know, maybe just that exposure to
the general public.
Yeah, specifically related to hurricanes, I know that Waffle House is heavily concentrated in the Southeast. They're headquartered in Atlanta, so probably they have. And like Jerome said, they changed their policies after Hurricane Katrina, so probably they've done a lot of research specifically about hurricanes because that's what tends to affect the Southeast part of the United States.
I think that's right. I thought it was cool. Thought I'd bring it up. With that, I think we can end first period and go right on into second period with Professor MADDOX. What you got going on this week?
So a few weeks ago on my recurring segment about business ideas, the good and the bad, I talked about an idea for a new beverage that was non-alcoholic, but could be consumed in scenarios where you would consume alcohol or others are consuming alcohol, and kind of fill that void somehow without being an alcoholic drink. Bring you some type of satisfaction from drinking that beverage without it being alcoholic. Now, I placed an emphasis on maybe other what do you call it? Inebriating substances like mushrooms or something.
Yeah, you didn't want it to necessarily just be a non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, but just weeks later, they must have watched our episode.
They definitely did.
This is too coincidental.
They definitely did, and we all know it only takes 3 weeks to make a product.
Well, when you're Tom Holland, I think you can pull off a 3-week get to market in 3 weeks if you're Tom Holland, which is false because this took him 2 years apparently. But Bero has been launched. Jerome, you actually sent this to me. Jackson, what are you gonna?
Is that how you say that?
We don't
It's
know.
like beer with 0 alcohol, right?
It's supposed to be like British Bero.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm not even going to touch that because
It's
I don't want to
from
get angry comments then.
I don't know. He's from London. He born in London, crafted in America, enjoyed nationwide
Ooh.
or worldwide. Golly, yeah. Sorry, Bero, I botched that one. But I thought that was clever. Anyway,
Wait, have you been sipping on this entire time?
yeah, this
Oh, okay.
is the Edge Hill Hazy IPA. I purchased the variety pack the day that it launched. There's three flavors. There's the IPA, a Pilsner, and a noon wheat. I don't know. That's the lightest one, the noon wheat. All of them are fantastic. They're very, very good beers.
Not sponsored, by the way.
But
Maddox purchased this with his own money.
So while good, and while I'll probably continue to purchase these, the price needs to come down. It's steep. So for the 12 pack I bought was $35 plus $10 flat shipping fee. So I spent $45 on a 12 pack of beer. I'm not going to do that often, but for something that I would say is very premium quality and very enjoyable, I probably will get this on occasion, and hopefully the price comes down as they scale more.
And obviously you're in Tennessee, but I assume eventually they'll be in grocery stores, right? Like you don't have to just buy this online.
So you sent me the Instagram post where
Yes.
they launched this, and
Yes.
I followed them, and their marketing campaign is just, they've gone all out.
Really?
They're doing.
I mean, he went on Fallon last night.
Yeah, he was on Fallon. They're doing all kinds of like in-person events. They have like a big truck with the brand on it that they're going around and like letting people try it and stuff. They just are posting all kinds of stuff. I feel like every 5 posts I scroll through is a Bero post. Anyway, they're going big, but which is cool because to my business idea, to be fair, when I presented the business idea, I had not started drinking alcoholic beer yet, non-alcoholic beer. I hadn't tried it as a solution. After that, I did get into like athletic brew and now this. But this, I think, like, this is the idea. Like they solved it because it's like achieving what I wanted it to achieve. It didn't do it in the way that I thought it was going to be done. But so in the Fallon interview, I don't know if it's the Fallon interview, one interview, he's been doing a bunch of interviews, but he said like, he stopped drinking. And he said, I wanted something that I could drink where I still felt included at a bar or a restaurant.
Which is exactly what you said.
That's essentially what I was trying to like get at. So this achieves that because it's a really good beer. When you drink it, you feel like you're drinking a beer, but it just without the alcohol. So it's hard to explain, but
I certainly want to try it. I meant to take one from you when I was at your place this weekend, and I got distracted and I literally left it on your countertop and I forgot it.
Here's the thing.
Unfortunate.
I think people think that this is for people recovering alcoholics, people struggling with addiction.
I was about to go to this too.
And I think that's not true. Now, Tom Holland says he quit drinking. He needed to quit drinking. I've never heard him in his interviews say that he's an addict or that he's an alcoholic, like outright. Right. Basically, he was just like, it seems like he always describes it as he kind of was developing an unhealthy relationship with it, and he needed to stop. And if this had been there when he was trying to quit, it would have made it a lot easier. So I don't know where he is with his relationship with alcohol. I would not recommend this to a true addict.
No, you absolutely should not.
Because
it even has alcohol, right? Like 0.5% or something like that.
It says contains less than 0.5%. So like there's, there could be trace amounts of alcohol in it. I don't know what the actual amount is.
And maybe that's a legal thing that they have to put on the can.
Right. But it's like decaf coffee, has, some amount of caffeine in it as well. So it's just, you can't get rid of all of it. So yeah, for someone that's an actual addict, this would be a terrible idea in my opinion, because
Yes.
it's like it seems kind of like a gateway drug back.
Right.
If I can handle this little bit, like maybe I can have another. Maybe I
Completely.
can have one beer,
And I've seen that online so much where people are like, "Oh yeah, like this is meant for alcoholics." And I'm like, "No.
No.
Like
This
stop.
is meant for people like me who enjoy drinking, get satisfaction out of drinking, but do not want the negative side effects of alcohol.
Enjoy the taste."
Yeah, I enjoy the taste. It brings me joy drinking this, and for
And
me,
it looks freaking cool.
For me, yeah, it's like special. It's like a special occasion, like cracking this open. Jerome, when I was bringing this idea up, you were like, "Just drink a soda." It's like, no, this is
right.
This is
you want to drink a beer.
This is an elevated experience.
Yeah,
and for me, it's like an association thing. I feel like so there's like activities that I feel like I associate with like that would be a fun thing to do while drinking a beer or whatever.
Yeah.
Like playing video games with the boys or recording a podcast with the boys, smoking some meat out on the grill.
Yeah.
Working on the car, like,
Actually, you're selling me on this heavy. I might actually right after this buy a case.
Yeah, so you get for me it achieves that. It's like, okay, yeah, I can enjoy my beer. I can enjoy a beer while I do these things that I, but I don't have the negative side effects. I don't want to sacrifice my quality of sleep. Like I want to be productive the next day. Yeah. But it's still like it solves that problem. Now, me as someone that like I'm drinking this and I plan on drinking again, or there's some occasions where I want actual alcohol.
Right.
But
like your wedding.
Yeah, and but as I get older, it's like those times are like becoming fewer, I think, or like I want to like keep those, I just the enjoyment that alcohol brings me is not as much as my need to be, well rested and productive and focused. Anyway, that's Bero. I really love it. I think it's cool that I don't know, Tom Holland's kind of like normalizing this idea because honestly, like before this, I felt kind of embarrassed drinking it. Like people would think I had a problem or something, but it's like, really, I just like it solves a problem for me.
Yeah.
He said in one interview, he was like, people always talk about non-alcoholic beer about in terms of what it's lacking. Like it doesn't have, like, what's the point? It doesn't have alcohol. But he said they're trying to, talk about it, about like what you can gain from it.
Right.
And I think there's a lot to gain from it. Especially for people that are not trying to be like completely sober for the rest of their life.
Right. I completely agree with you. You've sold me on it. I'm going to try to go find some. I'm throwing my mom a surprise 50th birthday party this weekend. I can say that because this episode will come out after this weekend. But I might try to go find some and have it at the party. That sounds like a really cool idea. Also, for someone like me, like I'm already a loud, like talkative, borderline obnoxious person. And when I start drinking, like I know this about myself, I get extra of all of those things.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, Jackson. And like, yeah, I feel like perfect opportunity, like take like a business dinner. Like I literally had a team dinner last night, right? And I had like 2 glasses of beer or whatever at dinner, which is not crazy. But I also know like it gets me kind of like free flowing and conversation like easier and whatever. Perfect opportunity. Substitute with the Bero. I feel like I'm socializing. I feel like I'm in like a good spot, whatever, but I'm not drinking any alcohol,
Yeah, and I think this can do that without the alcohol because it just, like I said, it's kind of like an association thing. It puts you in that atmosphere still.
It's, what's it called? The medical term? Placebo.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
And when you've growing up, you've drank this thing while you're doing certain things, and this still feels like the same thing. So I feel like it can put you into that space without the bad part of it. But yeah, and like you said, I mean, you could substitute completely, or maybe you could even, have one regular beer and then just have beer after that.
Oh, or, to space out your drinks. Ooh, that's kind of a good idea too. I like that.
But you just feel like it's continuous, and you're not having to like switch to water or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm
I like it.
too deep, but I think
Good
it's.
idea.
I think it's. I like it. It works for me. I feel like it's improved my quality of life because this is something I've kind of been grappling with. Just like wanting to stay productive and focused, but also like trying to balance life with socializing, and drinking is a big part of socializing these days.
Yeah.
Or not these days. That's always kind of. But anyway,
Totally agree.
So I'll transition that into my next recurring. Well, it's the same recurring segment. It's the business idea segment.
It. My favorite segment.
So we've got gas-powered vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got EVs, electric vehicles. There's also hydrogen that's making a name for itself.
There's also nuclear powered. I think Google's investing in that.
I thought this would be a good callback to the nuclear. So I was exposed to a new type of car recently on TikTok.
Ooh, can we guess?
Yeah, I was going to give you guys each a chance to guess what it's powered by.
Jackson, you want to go first?
Mechanical human power.
Like
bike?
Fred Flintstone?
Yeah, Flintstone style, yeah.
A four-wheeled bike?
I was going to say, this is not a joke. This is real. It's going to sound like a joke, not a joke. Some sort of vegetable oil debris, like used vegetable oil that somehow you burn off.
Is this not what like ethanol essentially is?
Is that right?
I think isn't.
Cut that. Hey, editor, cut that.
That's more like, isn't ethanol like a mixture of gasoline and vegetable oil? With heavy emphasis on the gasoline.
Okay, so in the car community, you can get like high percentage ethanol gas, and they call it running on corn because I'm pretty sure it's like corn,
or
byproduct
like
of
vegetable.
some sort.
It's it's vegetable something.
Interesting. Wait, what do the numbers mean? Like 87, 90, 93. The higher is more ethanol or less ethanol?
No, that's not what that means.
Oh, okay.
That's
just completely ignore me.
The octane rating?
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
what that
octane
means
rating
either.
for the gasoline.
More octane or less octane?
I think more.
And that's what I was getting at.
More is better.
Anyway, MADDOX.
Okay, so I'm just gonna share my screen and show you guys. Neither of those were the correct answer, but
should we
describe it for the audio listeners?
Oh, for the audio listeners, well, I'll watch it and then we can describe
it. You've never seen an engine like this before. Congratulations, you're in for a treat. The operation of this engine is incredibly simple. Just a shake of the hand is enough to start it. Inspired by a video, this engine requires no fuel to run. Instead, it operates solely on a few strategically placed magnets. To meet their design needs, the creators built a basic engine from scratch. They crafted the crankshaft, cylinder, and even the piston, which was made from magnetic material. Since this engine lacks a conventional power source, they turned to the principle of magnetic repulsion, using magnets with the same polarity. By placing a magnet at the top of the piston and another of the same polarity above it, the repelling force drives the piston's movement. Thus, they successfully created an engine that theoretically runs on magnetic force alone. To start it, all that's needed is an external push to set things in motion. After installing this engine in a vehicle, they found it could drive normally, although at a slightly slower speed. In theory, if magnet strength doesn't fade, this machine could keep running indefinitely.
That's so cool.
Magnets, baby. That's the business. Be the first producer of magnetic
cars,
fueled vehicles.
Yeah, but then my initial first automatic question is speed. How can you make it go faster or slower? Because clearly they needed an external force to start it, right? And then there's no, like in a regular conventional car or in an EV, you have an accelerator that you push down that gives it more gas in the case of a regular car, or in an EV, like more electricity, which then turns the engine faster, or they don't have engines, they turns the wheels faster, the motors faster. In this, there's nothing. There's no
Jerome,
fast or slow.
If you know anything about me, I'm the ideas guy first. Okay? You got to have the big ideas first.
And then you figure
all
it
the
out
other
later.
stuff you figure out later. After you form the LLC, you figure that stuff out.
Okay. We got to get the trademark first.
So when I see this, okay, I don't wanna just jump to the conclusion that it's fake, but like when I see this, the first thing I think is those fake perpetual motion machines you see where
Interesting. You think it's fake?
I'm not saying it's fake. I think maybe it's not as viable as they're depicting in the video. One, again, in order to increase your speed, in order to offset any decrease in speed by braking, you'll need some external power source. I guess that could be through fuel. You could have a mix of a fuel-based and a magnet-based car. But also, like...
Or you can create magnetic fields using electricity. So it could be a pseudo... Yeah. What do you mean? Like you wrap a coil around a magnet, and when you run electricity through it, that's how you create magnetic fields?
Yeah, but does that create the same effect that...
No, my point being, you could, by adding or removing electricity to a coil, you could create a magnetic field that could potentially allow propulsion to happen. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but you would probably need more energy to expended than in order to like create that magnetic field than in like a traditional cylinder-based car.
Right, and then you might as well just have an EV at that point, right? Is that the point?
Yeah.
Anyway,
so that's where I am with the science. Is like, you would need some sort of external power source, and is this going to be more efficient than just a regular cylinder-based gasoline or electric powered car?
The biggest thing that I noticed was, technically speaking, I think Jackson's guess was the closest, because you said human powered, and technically they started it with a hand push.
That's actually true. Yes. So Jackson wins that pop quiz. When I was trying to find this clip again for the episode, I saw like a Reddit thread, and Jackson, to your point, there was a lot of talk about these fake perpetual motion machines that like actually use a battery or something like that. But anyway, my point was not to get into the weeds of this. It was just big picture. Like, seems like a cool idea. Honestly, this made me like just have this appreciation for magnetism that I hadn't had before. Like magnetic forces are like really cool. Like, it's a really cool phenomenon, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They are. I'm going to send you a box of like magnets.
I'm also surprised that what they're using is magnetic repulsion, because the repulsive magnetic force is not really the strongest of the electromagnetic forces. You use a lot of intensity compared to other types of electromagnetic forces. I forget. There's some exponent there's some negative exponent that it decreases the power by, and I don't remember what it was. It might be 1 over r to the third or something. I don't know.
Sure. I think we should try to figure out what else we can run cars on. Like
fire, earth, air, wind.
Water. Like, I want to understand the inner workings of the hydrogen ion car. Like, how does that work? Is that basically water powered? Like, you take water and then you extract the hydrogen from it, and that's how it runs? I don't know, but I want to know. You know?
Well, you can look into that. I'm gonna end my period, my block. We had Bero, we had magnets. That's all from me. If you Bero, if you want to reach out to us, sponsorship, please do.
I agree.
If anyone wants to reach out to us about starting the magnetic car business, what's our email, Jerome?
It is 9degreespod@gmail.com.
Hit us up.
Jackson, moving right on into third period. What's going on? What do you want to talk about this week?
All right, so there was something interesting that I saw in the news that is kind of a little pet interest of mine. I don't actually do this, but I follow it. It's about a video game, kind of an old video game that some of our older fans might have played back in the day, called Tetris. Actually, I think a lot of people might have played it in various forms. It's just a very popular game. It's on like every platform. Tetris, I think it first came out in 1989 or something for the NES. So a long time ago. And actually, it's been in the news a lot in the last couple of years, more than you would think for a game that's 30 years old. It's a game that gained a lot of revitalized interest in world record setting and, not really speedrunning, but yeah, like competitions to like see who's the best at it. Those have actually gotten a lot of traction over the last couple of years. And so the news I wanted to talk about that happened in the last several weeks is that there was a teenager in the United States whose online handle is dog playing Tetris. And he recently just beat the 255th level of the game, which is the last level of the game that's coded into the game.
You're telling me no one has beat that before?
No, and I'll tell you why in a second. But yeah, so he finished. He beat the last level of the game, and this is a goal that Tetris players have been trying to achieve for like years and years, ever since it was shown to be viable. And yeah, he beat that level, and he saw what it's like what happens when you beat the game.
This is so cool to me. I want to. Is there a video of it or
yes,
a description?
If you wanna search, it's called Rebirth, and the reason why it's called Rebirth is, contrary to what you might expect, whenever he beat the 255th level, it actually went back to level 1, and so it kind of like loops back to the beginning.
That's not contrary to what I thought. When you said Rebirth, that's the first thing that I thought would happen. I'd be so mad though.
Well, before I said Rebirth, you would think like, oh, the game just ends or something. But
yeah, no, or like you get like a fun animation or something. There's nothing like that. No, like congrats.
No. I think that there is in certain parts of the game, but not in this like unlimited levels kind of thing.
They probably didn't expect anyone to ever get to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So let me talk to you I'm going to try to be really brief with this because I don't want to get too bogged down about the history of Tetris and world record breaking. So when people used to play Tetris like for many years, what they would do is to move the piece left and right, they would just hold down that direction on the D-pad and the piece would go in one direction. Once you get to a certain level, I think it's like level 29 or level 30 in Tetris, the pieces start to move so fast that just doing that technique, you can't move the pieces fast enough to get to the side. And so it's physically impossible for you to
so then they do that like double tap method, right?
Yeah, so that was a method that rose about in maybe the 90s. There's a long history related to Tetris. There's some great videos on it, actually, if you want to search those. You can just search like Tetris world record video essays, if that's your YouTube search, if you want it. If you want to see this specific run, you can search Tetris Rebirth. Yeah. But so they came up, the first innovation method was you really quickly tap the arrow and then you can get it over in time. That method was pretty good, but it wasn't the most reliable method. However, I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago, it's like the late 10s, there was a Tetris player who came up with a game redefining technique where instead of pressing the button, what you do is you flip the controller upside down, you put your finger next to the arrow button that you want to press, and what you do is you use your other hand to like tap the controller really quickly. Yeah, like that.
Hope people can't see me, but I'll show. Look at me, camera.
There's other games where you do that, and if you do this, you can move the piece much faster and with much greater precision.
It essentially reads as 4 taps, right? Like each finger.
Yes, and you can do it faster than
right.
What's fast? It's faster than doing the single muscle. You have the different muscles going sort of one after the other.
Probably less fatigue as well.
Yeah, it redefined the meta of competitive Tetris, which is a very funny statement to make. But yeah, after that, people were able to get to levels that were and deal with the high speed of the pieces falling. And so once that became sort of the meta, then players started to get good at playing at that high speed. And it was only a matter of time. Like, so for example, I think a year or two ago, a young kid got to the point where the game crashes that was never believed to be achievable with old techniques, but he made it happen. And then finally, this teen was able to get to the very last level, which is a pretty difficult accomplishment.
Damn.
Well, cheers to them. That's super cool. I didn't know that. I mean, I assume I know there's competitive landscapes for every game, but I didn't know that there was this kind of unbeat like challenge that was still taking place in Tetris.
So actually, people knew what would happen whenever you beat the game. That's why the term rebirth already existed before this. So what they did is they took the game and they like ran the game code through simulations, and they were able to use computers to beat it. So they knew it would happen, but it's never been achieved by a human before.
So
go ahead.
It's funny because when I think of Tetris, I think of Tetris as like a game that's like a lot of times now just in other games. Like the idea of playing the original Tetris on, would you say SNES?
On NES.
NES? That just seems, that's so funny to me. So is that the version that people play to compete, or is there a different version?
So there's multiple versions of the game. So the version that is used by players who are trying to go for high levels and high scores is a slightly modified version of the game, but it's still essentially NES Tetris with some modifications made to prevent crashes and to give you better UI.
Cool. Very interesting.
This is a rabbit hole that I fell down maybe 3 or 4 months ago. So, just like watching and learning about the Tetris World Championships and Tetris World Record score attempts and like crashing the game. There's a great video essay. Let me look up the channel. I'll look up the channel in a second, but it's a great rabbit hole that you can fall down. You can spend like hours one night and just learn everything there is to learn about the competitive Tetris scene. I highly recommend that our viewers check it out.
I have another story about Tetris. Can I insert it here?
Yeah.
This is recently that I heard about this. I can't recall the source that I heard it from, but someone, I guess someone on Reddit posted, or some social media platform, that they had just they were at some public space, like a park or on a hike or something, and they witnessed someone jump off this cliff or mountain and commit suicide. Essentially,
that's your Tetris story.
Wait, I'm getting to it.
Okay,
but what? And they were like, I guess they were posting that they were like struggling about what they had just witnessed, and people were responding to play Tetris because apparently there's some psychological studies that show playing Tetris helps, playing
like
Tetris
soothing almost.
Like soon after a traumatic experience helps process that, or something along those lines.
Weird.
Yeah, I don't.
We got to look into the study.
This was told to me secondhand about someone who saw this exchange on the internet. So I don't know all the details, but apparently that's a thing. Playing Tetris soon after a traumatic event is.
I thought you were going to say it was because they jumped off a cliff and in Tetris the pieces fall. So it's like you can kind of like. I should delete that.
That's morbid, dog.
Cut that out. Cut that out. Jokes. That's what we're here to do. We're trying to make morbid situations fun again. I don't know. Jackson, tell us more about Tetris, please.
Well, I think that's all I really have to say about this story. But if you want to learn, if you want to fall down this rabbit hole of learning about Tetris, there's a great video by the channel A Game Scout on a significant Tetris world record that was broken this year. And then there's also a video about from the channel Summoning Salt on the history of Tetris world records. I think Summoning Salt makes a lot of videos on the history of speedrunning and world records in video games, which I find is actually a very interesting field. That there's a lot of old games that have popped up or have gotten a lot of attention lately from people trying to speedrun them.
Yeah.
Speedrunning has become a very popular thing.
I agree.
I like that because I feel like there's speedrunning, and then there's just like other, I guess, competitive like things, but I like just the concept of taking a game that's been around a long time and playing it in a different way. Just to it like breathes new life into it, and I think that's I can appreciate that.
Jackson, anything else you got for the week, or should we move on into recess?
No, that's the end of the third period. What do we got?
All right. Well, let's move right on into recess. I've got one thing that I want to talk about, and I've got one just recommendation. You guys are welcome to provide some recs as well. Anyway, for recess this week, our segment where we talk about the funniest and just most random things on the internet that we see. I want to talk about LeBron James and LeBron James Jr. Bronny. So Bronny is officially on the Lakers with his dad, and they're playing in the NBA for the first time ever. First father-son duo to be in the NBA ever, right? And they're playing together, same team and whatnot. And I saw this meme the other day that was like, I guess it was last night was the first game. And I saw this meme that was like, the Lakers won. That means Bronny James's win percentage is 100%, while Michael Jordan's win percentage is like 66% for his career. So who's the real GOAT? And I was just like, the internet, because Bronny James, let's be honest, he's not very good. He's not very good. In the preseason, he was putting up like no points at all. On the other hand, Dalton Connect from Tennessee also plays on the Lakers, put up like 35 points the other day. He's killing it. But no, does he get it? Any recognition? No, because nepotism. That's why. I also feel like if I was Bronny James Jr., I would just be like, I hate this. I don't even want to be in the NBA. I want to be a cardiovascular surgeon. But my dad forced me to play basketball. Any thoughts?
Cardiovascular surgeon really hits close to home because Brian James had heart problems.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. That's my fault.
Too soon.
Yeah. Anyway, that was it. I was just, I just think nepotism in sports is funny, but also if you can help your kids, do it. You know what I mean?
I will say though that I think Bronny's presence in the NBA has really it's made for some great entertaining news coverage and Reddit threads, especially on r/NBA. Those are it's been pretty hilarious lately.
Okay, go check that out then. My recommendation that I have is Hassan Minhaj's new stand-up special just came out on Netflix. I believe it's called Off With His Head. I watched it with my girlfriend here live in DC like a couple months ago, and I didn't even realize he was filming like a whole special. And truthfully, when I went live, I've seen this one and his last special. Like I watched both of those live, and when I watched this one live, I was like, like it wasn't as funny as the last one. But I rewatched it yesterday on Netflix, and it was so freaking good. That's my recommendation, everyone. If you need an hour of comedy in your life, go watch Hassan Minhaj's new Off With His Head stand-up special on Netflix.com. That's all I've got. You guys got any recs you want to give out?
So wait, is your recommendation to not watch comedies performances in person because they're going to be not as good as comedy specials?
No, that's not my rec. My rec is just watch this Netflix one because it was good.
I'm curious, why was it better? Why was it not as good as in person?
Maybe he was just like working out the jokes still. It just felt like...
Oh, yeah, okay, I get it. It wasn't the same like delivery of it.
Yeah, and like relative to the other one that I watched live, like the other one was like hilarious. I was like dying laughing so much that I went to the same show twice. Whereas this one just felt like more low energy. It was right off of coming off of that New Yorker article where they had said like, oh, Hassan Minhaj like makes up his jokes, like they're not real and that type of stuff. So it felt like most of the stand-up set when I watched it live was he was just like attacking the New Yorker and like trying to like defend his character type thing, which he was making jokes, but it just felt like overplayed, and I just didn't think it was funny at the time. Whereas on the Netflix like live or on the Netflix like special, he like cut a lot of that stuff out, and like it was more like well thought out jokes, I thought. So
wait, so are you telling me that comedians that come up with jokes that are like talking about situations that happen to them, like those aren't made up? Those actually are all real?
That was exactly his point. and he was like, "Why are we doing like fact checking comedy? Like, what are we doing right now?"
I honestly assumed that it was like almost always made up.
Right. I completely agree. So
Or like there was a spark of truth in it, but then they, you know,
Exactly.
the story becomes a little bit more embellished to make
exactly.
it to make the point.
Right. I thought that was like well known, but the New Yorker had a whole ass press run off of that. So they tried to cancel him based off of it, but obviously it's
Norm
like, he's a
Macdonald's
comedian.
comedy career would have been ruined if that was the case.
True. Wait, isn't he like? Didn't he pass recently?
Yeah, he died.
Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's end the show. Turn the cameras off. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this episode. As always, if you want to interact with us, the professors, and talk about current events as they're happening, make sure to join the classroom, our Discord. The link is below. It's been light recently, so please come join. Tell us what you think. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel to watch the video version of the podcast. We also have Instagram, TikTok, at 9 Degrees Pod. Make sure to check those out. Thank you guys for watching the episode, and class is now dismissed.